So in this one, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, I suggest you do so, because we've been using the same chorale over and over again and gleaming specific moves from it that we can actually use with other modes. Okay, now in this instance, we're going to do something a little different just to show you the strong relationship of all of this that we've done so far, and the same kind of chord moves that we've used. Okay, and I'm going to point these out here in a second. We're going to use Phrygian dominant, okay? A unique mode this time to show the inner relationship. So let's go through this Bach chorale here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on that 5 chord and that Picardy third, and only chords that use the B flat and the C sharp. So that would produce Phrygian dominant, which is related to D minor because it's the 5th mode of D harmonic minor, okay? So we're going to do a little formula like this. We're going to use Phrygian dominant and only the chords that would form off this. And that's of course related to D minor, okay, as the 5th mode. That's where you're using the 5th degree as your tonal center. I'm not explaining how Phrygian dominant works, just if you understand this concept, you're not writing the dominant either, but we're going to end up on this Picardy third in some manner or fashion, okay? And then use that as Phrygian dominant. So, Phrygian dominant, I'm not just writing the 5th chord of D minor, okay? It is its own tonal center, just like Dorian's its own tonal center. You keep hearing this pull back towards this A chord, okay? You're hearing that pull, that's what your ear is hearing. And you never have to remotely even go to D minor for it to sound finalized, even though there's no strong cadence. It's like a mode, a unique mode. So but it is interrelated to D minor. But instead, we're going to use that Picardy third move now and treat D minor as another Phrygian dominant. So it's kind of like a modulation almost if we use it. But the interrelationships here I want to talk about. So if you're an A Phrygian dominant, okay, if you look at the G minor chord, that can resolve to a D major chord. The E half diminished can resolve to a D major chord, and the C sharp fully diminished 7th can resolve to a D chord. These are like using borrowed chords towards that D. So I wrote out a bigger chart here. When it could resolve to, the G minor could resolve to any form of this D, okay? As if borrowed, as if in minor, same with the half diminished, as if it's borrowed. So all 3 of these chords again from A Phrygian dominant can resolve to either a D major or a D minor chord. All these chords written out here really nicely. So we've learned 3 more new moves, and they're free. So here's a possible sketch of how we can get to that D, and we're going to treat D as D Phrygian dominant the second we get to it. But notice something with Phrygian dominant. It loves that half diminished sound that's down a 4th, okay, or up a 5th. Same thing. A move we learned in this series. So let's go ahead and play through the chord sequence here. Maybe you just want to do open 5ths, okay? And I'm going to give suggestions, maybe a pedal point for some tension. I'll just play through the chords. Close out the Phrygian dominant first phrase, okay? Start working your way towards the D major Picardy third. Now treat that as Phrygian dominant. So in a way, it's almost a form of modulation, but we're using the interconnectedness of Phrygian dominant and D minor, okay? So maybe you'll do something like this, musically. So we'll start working towards that D chord. Now D Phrygian dominant, start maybe lightening it up a bit. Very exotic kind of sound the scale has. So piano players, forgive me, I'm not very good at this kind of stuff. I improvise most of this and sometimes fail terribly when I'm trying to do it, but sometimes it comes out really good. So using the interconnectedness between Phrygian dominant of A and its relationship to D minor, you could actually work still towards that Picardy third, like in the Bach chorale, and then treat it as its own tonal center via these chords that I did show in the previous few examples on notation. So it's the fifth mode of D harmonic minor, but you don't necessarily have to go to D harmonic minor. Phrygian dominant is its own tonal center. This would be an easy way to modulate from one Phrygian dominant to the other. Simply treating that as if you're going to the D minor Picardy third. Okay, so Phrygian dominant, very exotic sound. And you don't have to go to that D minor chord at all. You could treat it just like the Bach chorale and the Picardy third. And we also learned again that we could use resolutions. A half diminished chord could resolve up to a major chord, a perfect fourth, like we saw in almost every other example prior to this. So, and then now a minor chord up a fourth can resolve to a major or minor chord down a fourth. A half diminished chord could resolve down a major or minor chord down a second, and a fully diminished seventh chord can resolve up to a major or minor chord, a minor second. So I'm just trying to show the interconnectedness of all these moves we've done so far in this series. They're all kind of interconnected. So once you learn a specific move, like a half diminished chord resolve up a fourth to a major chord, which is down a fifth. Actually, the whole point of this video is to start showing that these little harmonic moves you learn start to stack up into building a larger and larger harmonic vocabulary of more options of what to do, even with the same chords, whether it's functional or non-functional music. Still, we took some small aspects of past music moves like here, and we've applied it now to a more modern thing like Phrygian dominant, okay? More modern meaning it's a lot more modern than the Bach time period. They would never use stuff like that. And I encourage you, if you haven't watched the entire series on this, to go back to the very beginning, because we do stuff that's more closely related to the chorale at first.